All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive. And you guys might want to buckle up for this one. This one is going to get kind of wild. Today, we are diving into the world of Sean Diddy Combs, and more specifically, the shocking allegations surrounding his infamous after-parties. We're talking about alleged freak-offs lawsuits and some seriously eyebrow-raising video footage recently obtained by the New York Post. So what exactly went down at these parties, and why should you even care? Well, that's what we are here to figure out. So our main source for this deep dive is a recent New York Post article. The article claims that Diddy's after-parties, specifically the ones following the 2004 and 2005 MTV VMAs in Miami and the 2005 Super Bowl in Jacksonville, turned into something straight out of a movie. And not exactly a family-friendly one. We're talking drug-fueled orgies, allegedly happening right after all the A-listers left. And the Post says they have video evidence to back it up. They describe some pretty wild scenes, like footage from the 2005 VMA's after-party that allegedly shows two men having sex with a young woman who appears to have white powder under her nose. And guess who's in the background? Diddy himself. But it gets even crazier. There's allegedly footage from the 2005 Super Bowl after-party that shows Diddy actually participating in an orgy. I know, a lot to process.
It's important to remember that Diddy is currently facing federal charges for forcing and coercing people into sexual encounters, allegedly using drugs and alcohol as part of that coercion. So while the video footage itself might not reveal anything entirely new about these specific charges, it does seem to fit into a possible pattern of behavior.
And it definitely adds another layer to the already complicated legal situation Diddy is facing. We're talking about a growing number of lawsuits with accusations stemming from similar alleged incidents. For example, one woman claims Diddy raped her at his VMA's after-party back in 2000, when she was just 13 years old. She even alleges that two other celebrities were present during the assault. Then there's a man who claims Diddy grabs the genitals in what he describes as a rough and sexual manner at a party for Diddy's vodka brand in 2022. And to top it off, another woman alleges that Diddy drugged and raped her at an after-party in his Las Vegas hotel room in 2014.
It's important to note that Diddy has pleaded not guilty to all charges. His lawyer has strongly denied all allegations, stating that, quote, Mr. Combs has never sexually assaulted anyone adult or minor, man or woman. However, these lawsuits, combined with the video footage, paint a disturbing picture. They raise questions about the frequency and nature of these alleged incidents and how power dynamics might have played a role.
The New York Post even quoted an unnamed federal law enforcement source who said, and I quote, just about everything you can imagine was happening at these parties. So I've got a lot more to unpack here, so stay tuned for part 2 of this deep dive. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss out. We'll be right back.
Sounds good. It's kind of crazy to think that all these allegations against Diddy, they aren't exactly coming out of the blue.
Yeah, I mean, there's a long history here.
Definitely. A long history of accusations and legal issues surrounding his behavior, especially toward women.
Yeah, it feels like this is part of a larger conversation.
Absolutely.
A reckoning. Not just for Diddy, but for the whole entertainment industry. Like, more and more people are finding the courage to speak out, challenging those in power and demanding accountability.
Yeah. And it makes you wonder about the power dynamics at play here.
Right.
Like how many people might have felt pressured into silence because of Diddy's status and influence?
Yeah, it's disturbing to think about. But let's get back to the specific allegations for a second. I mean, the sheer number and variety of accusations against Diddy is pretty staggering. We're talking about claims of rape, sexual assault, coercion, and even allegations that Diddy used drugs and alcohol to manipulate people into sexual encounters.
Yeah, what strikes me is the consistency across these different accounts. While the specific details might differ, there's a recurring theme of Diddy allegedly using his position of power to exploit others.
Right. And the fact that these alleged incidents span decades, from the early 2000s to as recently as 2022, it paints a picture of a potentially deeply ingrained pattern of behavior.
Exactly. This isn't just a case of one or two isolated incidents.
Right. This raises questions about a potentially systemic issue that needs to be addressed.
The New York Post article definitely doesn't hold back on the graphic details either. They describe those alleged freak-offs as being incredibly explicit and disturbing, with multiple participants and a lot of drug use.
It's important to remember that these details, while shocking, they also serve a purpose.
Yeah.
They shed light on what allegedly went on behind closed doors at these parties and the potential abuse that took place.
I know it's tough to hear about, but I think it's important to acknowledge the severity of these allegations and the impact they could have had on the alleged victims.
For sure. We can't just sweep these details under the rug
Right.
or write them off as rumors.
Mm.
There are real people at the heart of this story, and their experiences deserve to be heard and taken seriously.
So where do we go from here? What does this all mean for Diddy legally? And in terms of his career and reputation, that's the big question, isn't it? If he's convicted on the federal charges, Diddy could be facing serious prison time. Even if he's acquitted, the damage to his reputation might be irreparable.
I mean, the number of lawsuits alone is enough to raise some serious doubts about his character.
And let's not forget about the impact on the people who have come forward with these allegations.
Right.
They've shown a lot of courage by sharing their stories. They deserve justice and support, regardless of how the legal proceedings play out.
This whole situation really underscores the fact that even the rich and famous aren't above the law.
It's also a wake-up call for the entertainment industry as a whole.
Yeah.
They need to create an environment where everyone feels safe and respected and where abuse and exploitation aren't tolerated.
You know, it's wild to think how quickly things have changed for Diddy.
Yeah.
Like just a few weeks ago, he was throwing this massive birthday bash. And now he's facing all these serious allegations and lawsuits.
Yeah. It definitely makes you think fame and fortune, they don't make you invincible.
Right.
In fact, it often seems like the higher you climb, the harder the fall.
And this isn't the first time we've seen a big name in Hollywood accused of this type of behavior.
Sadly, no. It seems like we hear these kinds of stories all too often.
Yeah.
And it often takes multiple accusations and a huge public outcry before any real action is taken.
It really makes you wonder just how many stories are still out there hidden in the shadows. How many people have stayed silent because they were afraid to speak out against someone so powerful and influential?
That's a really important point.
Yeah.
It's crucial that we create a culture where survivors feel safe coming forward.
Right.
They need to know that they'll be believed and supported no matter who the accused is.
And that starts with holding people in positions of power accountable for their actions.
Absolutely.
We can't let these kinds of behaviors slide.
Staying silent only protects abusers and allows the cycle to continue.
Right.
It's time to speak up and demand justice. Not just for Diddy's alleged victims, but for all survivors of sexual assault and harassment.
This whole situation really raises so many questions about consent power and the way we often idolize celebrities, sometimes turning a blind eye to their actions.
It also forces us to confront the uncomfortable reality that sometimes the people we admire, the people we hold up on a pedestal, can be capable of doing terrible things.
It's a reminder that we shouldn't blindly follow anyone, no matter how famous or successful they are. We need to hold everyone accountable for their actions.
And most importantly, we need to believe and support survivors. Their voices deserve to be heard.
So what are your thoughts on all of this? What are you taking away from this deep dive into the allegations surrounding Diddy? Let's continue the conversation in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future deep dives.
Thanks for listening.